What is up guys, Kane here, and in this video we're going to go over a complete guide for new players. Now there are a few subjects to cover up in this entire video, so probably it will be from 30 to 60 minutes long. So I will essentially split this video into a few parts, so if you're only looking for a few particular parts, do check the description below, so you more or less can skip straight directly to them. Now without further ado, let's start with the video. So, starting out the game, quite a lot of players will notice that the first 7 days in the game are pretty much boring and you have literally no events to play. Most of the events and the game itself will seem boring to you because it will look like most of other not very fun, very grindy war games with severe consequences if somebody would attack you, right? It would seem no different, but it's only after those 7 days where this game starts to become insanely fun, with a lot of events appearing, different type of events where you can get free resources and resources for just spending Lenari, which you can get in a gazillion of ways in this game right now. And you don't really need to recharge money to get that insane amount of Lenari, at least right now. The thing is, this game has a lot of cities, this game has like a lot of castles, a lot of events for PvP to capture cities and all that kind of stuff, but majority of this game is mostly just PvE content and also PvP in terms of events, guild wars, and all that kind of stuff, and not that much emphasis on actually capturing those cities, because most players can just destroy your city in a very little amount of time, and destroying your city is gonna happen, like it's gonna happen all the time. So if you get a hit, you shouldn't be, let's say, pissed about it or stuff like that. Like, I don't understand when some people do get a hit, they get like mad, they get ticked off for whatever reason, and eventually they quit the game. Now, if you get a hit, you don't lose anything. Sure, you may lose like some of these resources here. I had like tens, hundreds of millions, like billions of these. Sure, I lost some of them, right? Because I was hit and we are at war with another color. But essentially what you can do, you go onto here, you click repair wall, and you just start farming other players for the resources anyway. So even if you run out of resources, you can just attack other players, attack other cities, and you can regain those resources as well as gain them from events and event boxes. So, like, some people can tell you're in capital permanently, like the capital doesn't do you that much bad as most other people proclaim. Yes, you don't get one box every 8 hours, but that box only has 0.025% to give you something good anyway, and in a span of like 2 years I only gotten something good in like once or twice in 2 years, so a month or two in capital is not going to do you any bad anyway. So, Lenari. Now, a lot of players don't know where to spend the Lenari or whether they need to buy it or not. So, first things first, if you are new in the game, you should only spend, or rather buy Lenari in specific times in terms of after the first 7 days. Now, basically this is telling you to drop all of the events that are happening in the first 7 days. The reason for that is that you will be buying stuff in the version of these sets, right? There will be a few heroes, all that kind of stuff, but you will not be seeing this candlelight thing in here. Instead, you will see everything else except this candlelight. Now, you're paying $5 for everything that you see here except this event resource. And that event resource is pretty much like a free thing that you can use in another event, which you can get multiples of different things in here. So unfortunately, I actually opened, so I cannot show you what's hidden between like these squares. But if you pass the stages, you get quite a lot of rewards like boosts, all that kind of stuff. And this is another resource for another event. And that event is called Summer Festival. So you would spend money on the sets, you would play the Sky Tower, you would get these rewards here, and for getting those rewards, you would be collecting this here as an additional stuff, and then spending those fans and whatever that you have gained on even more rewards. So if you're spending money on sets early game, you're missing on a crap ton of free materials that you will be able to get in the future. So keep in mind, if you want to spend on the game and buy Lenari, you have to buy only like a first couple of heroes like Basric, maybe Flora, maybe Sizo, and then cease most of the spending in the game, at least for the first 1 to 2 weeks, and then you can spend further. That is to have a very good start and not waste majority of your money on so many free rewards that you will be able to get. Now keep in mind, I'm not telling you to not spend any money. I'm telling you to spend efficiently whenever you are able. So that are two different things. So moving towards the heroes. Now it really depends which race you play, what kind of heroes you will need. So quite a few other heroes overlap in a vast majority of formations, like Avalon can be used in Rakan, in Dwarf, in human. Alana can be used in all of the races because of the magic resistance it provides. Vega can be used in quite a few because she heals, except the undead. Virion can be used in humanoid formation, so he can add like damage reduction whenever they get morale boost, which only humanoid armies can do. Gan can boost magical creatures' HP percents, all that kind of stuff. So you can use Gan in specific Lich formations, in Sylvani formations, even in Rakan because of the Dragon Turtle and it healing more. So it really comes down to the formations and what buffers and debuffers you want, but quite a few heroes are like pretty generic, like Nora, like Yip, Denji, Talk, like Basric, Flora, Sizo. Majority of them you will want in your formation anyway, like Solaris. You should not aim to level most of the heroes. Now, as you can see, some are 35, some 26, some 40. I'm slowly leveling my Valerie, and eventually I'm going to change her build, her equipment, so she would be doing damage. Now, what you see here are just stat buffers for the moment. If you want to check my heroes, I can just show you a few of my core heroes so you can check how well they are decked out. Like my Avalon has 220 command for the moment. I will be flawlessing this last piece of gear, so it will easily reach above 220. So my Alana doesn't have flawless dragon set yet, almost 200 commands. My Vega at the moment, I just want her to have level 6 favor, and I want her to also have some buffing stuff, so that is why I have put like this white set here, which isn't that good, but at the moment it does its job. Like you can see, my Virion is almost full flawless as well, acting as a tank and as a healer. You can see my Raxius is not that perfect yet, but it as a buffer debuffer, he's pretty good. Can see my Nora is almost completely decked out with a 4-star artifact, so this can be over 260. Can see my Yip is not very decked out, but he's getting there. My Denji is pretty decent. I don't have the last Drake sets. Can see my Talk is probably pretty decently decked out at the moment, almost 200 command. He has a Drake set, which pretty much gives the Tortoise Mastery, Heavyweight, Feng Shui at almost the max levels. So if you have this set and you're playing Rakan, you want to have the general set on your Tog just for the additional buffs, as well as, buffing the Rakan's Ale to be active longer than the usual. So as you can see, majority of my main heroes are legitimately and highly decked out. So the same for like Floras, the same for like Saizo, and yeah, pretty much that's it. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the heroes in general. So now for the artifacts. So it depends when, where, and how you get these artifacts. Now, there are some pay to win artifacts which are insanely good, however, I do not have them. One of those artifacts is like a mirror which will make a copy of another hero that you have. So if you put that artifact on your hero, it will make a copy, and that is extremely overpowered on something like a Basric in the early game, where you can cast a couple of abilities of Bad Blitz and just wipe entire fields in seconds. Keep in mind, in the early game, it doesn't matter that it says the clone deals 30% of the hero's damage or has 30% of the hero's damage. Majority of Basric's early game damage is on his kills in terms of Flurry, Night Prowler, and also Bad Blitz. So even if he would have like 30% of his attack in the early game, and I do mean early game, majority of the time he will do similar damage as the main Basric anyway. However, now the damage would be severely different just because of the amount of attack that this Basric has and like the other Basric would have as a clone. Because the more attack you have, the more difference it makes in the future, but not the very early game from what I have witnessed myself. As silly as it may sound, because like these skills, these few skills, they scale the account very strong and very fast in the early game, but they seem to scale from the attack number insanely more than the early game, and the early game is just like these few skills completely demolishing everything, doesn't matter the attack number. And later, due to the reductions in damage reductions or critical hit resistances or evasion, all that kind of stuff, majority of the stats the clone has, it just cannot do almost any damage, and that 100,000 or 150,000 attack that the clone would have, it would literally do nothing. So prisms. So the other thing that the heroes can have are prisms. And prisms are something that is a very expensive feature in the game. And one of these features you may have to invest like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of Lenari into unless you're extremely lucky. Or a lot of money in terms of like thousands of cash. So don't get me wrong, you can get all of these for free and you can be lucky and get an insane number. Like there is one person on the server called Insanity, I believe. She got literally 5 true prisms in one golden game board event. Like fucking hell, man. How can somebody be so lucky to get 5 of like these random true prisms in one event, where I opened like 300 to 400 boxes and got no true prisms? And I only have like 6, I think, right now. 3 true rubies, 2 or 3 emeralds, and 1 amethyst. Do you believe I only seen... I have 3 emeralds, so 7 true prisms out of 6, 7, yeah, so 7 true prisms out of 12 prisms, so I need 5 more for now. So yeah, you can get them for free if you're lucky. Otherwise, you can get 1 guaranteed per month for 24,000 Lunari, which is the most important Lunari spending event in this game, which we will touch a little bit later, I suppose. So, in terms of prisms, quite a few heroes have specific prisms that will make them kind of overpowered or do an insane amounts of damage. So, for example, for Basric, you want the Whirling Blades, which gives him attack percent and hero bonus after 3 basic melee attacks. The next one deals physical damage equal to a portion of the wearer's attack in an AoE around him. So, if I can explain you in short, it says after 3 basic melee attacks, right? However, this hero, Basric, does 3 melee attacks in 1 basic attack, because it's like a 3 hits attack with 1 basic attack. It's hard to explain, but it should be somewhere in one of these skills where it would explain. Yeah, Basric splits his basic attack into a flurry of 3 lighter jabs. So basically, 1 basic attack is 3, how can I say, smaller attacks, something like that. And the third will always be a critical hit. So yeah, this prism for Basric will make him do a lot of damage, especially in PvP, and it's mainly in the versions of like PvP. And it does not apply to buildings, which means you do not do a lot more damage to castle defenses and all that kind of stuff, just with this hero bonus, but the attack still helps on the castles as well. So there is another specific thing for, let's say, Nora, which is the Draconic Storm, which increases range, accuracy, but majority of Nora's damage is in the Draconic Lightning, which it says 15% here, but it's technically not 15%. Like, whoever has this prism on Nora, you will see those thunders proccing like 5 times in like the 7 or 6 cannonballs that she shoots or whatever. Like, it's not 15%. Like, I would deem this number like from 30 to like 50% in majority of the cases. 15% is too low for the amount of draconic lightnings that Nora does. So some of these percentages can be misleading in terms of like the proc chances, unless of course there is something that will raise this in terms of the hero stats, which is not said in any of the descriptions. So you should be mindful of that this 15% is not 15%, but actually more. That is why this prism is overpowered on Nora. I mean, there are a few other basic prism sets, but you have to, how can I say, it really depends on your luck, which ones you get and which ones you value more. So there are a few heroes that I'm trying to level the hero researches for to use them, in terms of like Valerie right now, and I have a true emerald which I can equip on her to make her an insane DPS. But again, I need hero research to be done in a proper manner for me to use them. And Hero Prism will just make her insanely overpowered, but the Hero Prism is in the shape of a true Emerald Prism, which again, either luck or 24,000 Lunari. And 24,000 Lunari can be in a sense deemed like $350 through an event if you have not saved that particular amount of Lunari. So hero mastery, right? It depends how you play the game, how this hero mastery will look like. So as you can see, I have command at tier 4, I have rage at tier 4, I have tier 3 divine and protective, and I'm also slowly leveling the rage in the shape of like the additional passive skills. Now, don't get me wrong, I will reset this eventually. The reason for me doing this is that to get these to tier 4, it costs 25,000 scroll scraps, right? So if I would just buy these scraps and just let them stay here until I get 5 of these, which is 25,000, I will be not using any specific bonuses that I can have for free for the moment. So that is why I am spending 7,000 here a couple of times So I can still use those scroll scraps that I have, and eventually I can just reset this entire thing as shown here, right? Either free in 8 days or 200 Lunari, and I can just rebuild this and eventually get this to tier 8s either way. So until then, I will just insert one more point until here, and when I get total of 25,000 from this and also some here, I will then reset and get one of the tier 8 skills. So explaining that so people don't get angry on me or call me noob or whatever, that is the reason why I've done that. Now, I'm not very fond of mages, and I've never been fond of mages. However, Valerie has changed my opinion. So, essentially, in the very near future, I will level this to tier 6, and then I will level this to tier 8, and I will put this magic echo on Valerie. Now, it will take a lot of scroll scraps, like, it's gonna take like 60k, so it's gonna take quite a while for me to be able to do this. So, it's something that I look forward to the future myself. It's not something that I will spend money on or whatever. It's something that I'm looking forward in a month or two to work towards. Majority of my formation, my PvP and all that kind of stuff is dependent on the rage tree, which is like the damage for heroes, the command tree, which is like buffing your army, defense for your army, and attack for your army. Protective is like giving defenses to your heroes, and the divine is like providing utility and buffs for your heroes, or tankiness for your heroes as well, in other words. While the mage is the same as rage, but for mages and necromancers. So pretty much, if you are new to this feature, which unlocks at Castle 40, majority of these should be made level 2 the first thing you're able, because it's cheap, it's free stats and free hero stats. And after that, you should build this considering to what you're building in terms of research, heroes, and what you have. So since majority of my focus was on rogues and mechs, I made this to level 3 or rather tier 6 first. Then I went to command and made it tier 6, just so it buffs like the entire field with damage and attack speed whenever this hero is deployed. And the reason I have Sizer here is because when he dies, he doesn't really be killed, right? He just jumps back. So most of the time, Sizer survives the entire fight for me, or majority of the fight, so I don't have to worry that I will lose this kind of a buff very early on. So that is why I put it on Sizer for now. Like the Protector, it's helping you with your heroes and especially your tanks to survive and survive longer. And the thing is, gladiators for most players and paladins will be insanely weak, so they would die in like a few seconds. And the reason for that is because most small spenders and free-to-play cannot upgrade the gladiators to be of any use for quite a long time. And most of the people are raising the archers to extreme levels, so even if you did try to upgrade them, the archers would still demolish the gladiators and paladins in a few seconds. So even if you level this tree very highly, it's not going to assist you that much. And to assist you that much, you will need both Draconic Done and upgraded Draconic Talents to, how can I say, increase the HP on your glads by that 70% or whatever. So quite a few of the healing passives that you have here, healing for like 2.5 to like 5% HP per second, and when they have a lot more HP, which usually just doubles from their dragon talents, they will heal a lot more, and in a sense that will provide tankiness to the heroes because they will be healing incredible amounts of health. So majority of this really depends on researches, other features, and this is just like an additional bonus to your heroes, which in a sense will not make majority of your glads or paladins insanely tanky, as quite a few players will want to put it as. Sure, this helps, but it's not as helpful as research, dragon talents, and all other stuff. Though again, as I said, this helps, but not as much. And then you have the Divine Tree, which is, I think, third or fourth more useful of the hero masteries. The reason for it being third is one of the passives, like here. All heroes restore 1% of their max health per second. And then you have another one. All heroes restore 1.5% of their max health per second. So at the moment, it's 2.5%. So that depends how much health your hero has, whether how much HP they will regain. So if you're glad to have like 10 million HP, they will be getting back 25,000 HP per 1 second. And considering that some heroes can go up to like 60 million during battle, that 2.5% is an insane amount for them. So yeah, quite a lot of decent buffs depending on what you choose, what you play, and whatever. And the sooner you reach castle level 40, the more freebies of these scroll scraps you will be getting. Now, I think I have like a total of 300 or 250,000 scroll scraps. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe above 300,000. And majority of that is from the freebie events, which you eventually unlock and are able to get for free. Now, you do not get this resource if you do not have the level 40 castle, right? A lot of these scroll scraps will be voided from these stages and you will not get anything out of them. So, can easily just show you right here as well. A lot of these materials will be missing from these events unless you have the particular castle levels. These are only just a few events. There are a few other events that act the same as this one, as well as one PvP event every couple of days called the Duel Tower, which has like daily rewards like this one, right? Scroll Scrap, Draconic Dust, and whatever. If you do not have these features unlocked, all of these rewards from here are missing. So the faster you unlock the feature, the faster and the more stuff like this you get daily over the other players, and the faster you can upgrade. So keep that in mind. Now, the castle level. Quite a lot of players will tell you that you should never upgrade your castle level and it's pointless, and they're calling other people stupid. The thing is, most of those players who will always tell you that is their castle level is 50 and they have not ever played in the early game and they do not know what they're talking about in terms of early game. It's pretty much simple as that. I have restarted 4 times in a span of like 2 years, so I pretty much know what I'm talking about, and I'm here telling you that upgrading the castle level is very important. Now, it really depends how you use this information. So, if I told you that you should upgrade your castle level, you upgrade that castle level and you do nothing with it, then probably it will be a bad thing. However, if you upgrade your castle level, essentially it will add more tiers for your army in terms of like frontline, in terms of like your archers, and then you should perform a lot better in the PvE content, get more free materials, and essentially upgrade faster and better. So if you're in a very old server and you're castle 47 or 48 and you use like 30-day rush to boost your castle, it's not going to help you because this only works in the early game, in the early servers in the first 1 to 6 months in the game. Because after 6 months you enter a second merge and then those castle rushes, or rather building rushes, are not going to do you that well because there will be like 10 krakens or whales on your server and you will not rank high in events. So you need to use that first 6 months in the game to upgrade your castle, to upgrade your army, and to get as much of Linari from these events as you are able. Now, unfortunately, I'm recording the video when the events are over and there is no basic event or events to show you how much Linari you can get. But we can take like this event like Chaos Cultist as a an example. And for rank 1 in this event, you would be able to get 1,650 Lenari on the new servers the first 3 months. Then the next 3 months you will be getting close to 2,000, and now it's 2,400, I think, on the second merge in Dre. I'm not entirely sure, but I know after every merge the price is raised by a little bit. So the faster you level your castle between the first and the 6th month, you will earn more Lenari from events. You will be able to use that Lenari for events such as Golden Game Board, Lucky Wheel, all that kind of stuff, and get a lot more stuff. So that is why you would level your castle level. There is no other reason than to participate better in events, unlock more features to get more daily stuff from even like the daily quests, which I haven't yet shown. So for example, activity reward, you get prism chests when you reach castle level 25. You get these materials when you unlock your relic, which unfortunately I do not know when relic unlocks. However, the troop equipment, as you see here, equipment materials chest and Nimue, unlock at castle 35. So Draconic Talents, castle 30, I believe. Then you have Scroll Scraps, castle 40. Sutra Scrolls, castle 25. I'm not sure about Spirit Coins, and that's pretty much it. So, like I said, specific castle levels unlock more free stuff, daily stuff, and free stuff from events. So, even if it helps you win, or you don't even try for rankings, it still gives you more daily materials faster than you would get before. So, if somebody will have castle level 40, 30 days or 60 days earlier than you, so that's 60 days of free materials he will have on you. So in terms of scroll scraps, right, the hero mastery, he will have probably 60 to 100,000 more than you in terms of like the 60 days difference. And that 100,000 sure is a huge number, and especially if you just unlock the feature, you will be down on a lot of stats. So keep that in mind, that early game castle levels do matter quite a lot, but not as much after the second merge. So researches. Now, researches are a pretty rough topic to cover up because it can spark different opinions between quite a few people. The simplest of like the researches is the army research. Now on the new servers you will have to pick 3 research trees, and even then you will fail to manage to upgrade them. So as you can see, I have 2 over 200, then 34, 34, 170, and then 50. So basically I skipped 3 of the research trees and never wasted my time on them. And the others are my frontline, which is the clansmen, bandits, which are the archers, and then the Shalonians, which is the turtle. Now, depends what faction you play. Some factions require, or rather races, can require only 2 armies to be upgraded in terms of research, like dwarf. They only need the mechanical armor, which is the front line, and then they need dead eyes, which is the like archers for their class, and they don't need anything else. So I would be able to turn this 170 turtle research, or rather would have, because you cannot reset this, into the clansmen or bandits, and they would be tankier and stronger. However, I love playing Rakan, so that is why I chose this, even if it would require more time to upgrade them. So, what do I mean by this research? So, if you're on the very early game, your archers in all of the races will not do more damage than catapults, which is the siege. So majority of the players will be forced to level the sieges instead of like the Shalonians. And the reason for upgrading siege is pretty simple. Because the archers don't do any damage to walls, you will need to get the catapults to rank high in a few specific events in the early game to get over 2 to 3,000 Lenari for participating in it, and that's pretty much the best event to get Lenari, and that Lenari is needed and it's pretty easy to get. So 3000 Lenari per one event will kind of give you a lot of free Lenari to spend in events like Lucky Wheel, Golden Game Bird, as mentioned before. So the siege will have to be upgraded, and you will have to skip 3 others while still upgrading the clansmen and bandits. Now, for the siege, you do not need to upgrade literally everything. The first couple ones you will have to upgrade up until 4. Then you will need to upgrade tier 5, tier 6, then you can skip 7, skip 8, then tier 9, tier 10, and that's pretty much it. Eventually, when your archers at Castle 35 will do more damage than the catapults, you click this button down below here and you switch it like this, right? Click switch and then you swap that 171 from siege up until to the Shalonians, which was initially 50, and then you have the turtles, which with the 171. Which is how my turtles have this amount of research. So keep that in mind. You want to upgrade your front line and your archers and the siege, and then you swap the siege to another. Do not upgrade 4 of these at the same time because you're going to be wasting a lot of your precious time. So army aside, heroes. Now, quite a lot of players seeing my hero research may have question marks or why I have not upgraded that because they upgraded that. I have done this in quite a lot of my servers and I have skyrocketed my mechanist and rogue research to pretty decent levels, and I have won a lot of rewards in the early game. I ranked 1 in majority of events, if not rank 1, top 3. So my build scored me majority of my events, same for PvP, same for current PvP and all that kind of stuff. So whatever comments or opinions people will have, my builds gave me a lot of things, and it doesn't matter whatever they say, even if they think they know better. Because I restarted 4 times, my build has already been tested multiple times and it proven to be almost the best, if not the best type of builds for the early game. However, with the addition of one of the different skills for True Prism, I didn't actually notice that mages were able to do an insane amounts of early burst damage in terms of Valerie and her fire-like type sputter or splitting fire damage or whatever, especially for Akans who also do fire damage. She's also a must-have in the formation, which is why from having mages on 90, I have upgraded them to 191. And I will be probably upgrading them for quite a bit in terms of like this crit chance, crit damage, attack speed, and perhaps I will level a bit on the tier 12-ish. But I think after I finish this and the attack speed, this should be a decent-ish level to make my Valerie pretty decent. We will see, I will be testing it out. The rogues and mechs, in the early game, they score me a lot of burst damage through events. I ranked number 1 in the events where I needed to be quicker. I ranked 1 in clearing the Void Mirror, even if there were VIP 15s in my server or 14s, or people who had a lot more core power, or better dragons and all that kind of stuff. So rogues and mechanists provide insane burst speed compared to mages who have like sustained DPS, except for Valerie. So pretty much I level mechanists and rogues for PvE content and to have some decent type of heroes for PvP. At the moment, I think it's like 50-50 between mages and mechanists and rogues. What people say probably can be different late game, but currently, like, Valeries are able to single-handedly destroy entire fields even if my army has an insane amount of buffs, which is pretty insane. Probably something like Nora had done before. But now Nora doesn't do as much damage as Valerie, and it really just shocks me. General and sages, I have to upgrade this research tree, but I just never find enough time. I really have to upgrade this. So essentially, after I test out my mages and necromancers, I will be hitting the sages and generals because I really need to upgrade that. Gladiators and paladins, since I don't use Rufio, I do not upgrade the damage trees like this base damage, like this movement speed and attack speed, like this damage percent and whatever. What I have upgraded is the defensive ones to make sure my core gladiators and paladins are able to survive. Because the heroes or the gladiators and paladins that I use are Virion, which is a buffer, is Denji, which is a buffer, and also the Balrog, which is a debuffer and a small DPS, and Solaris, which is a good tank slash like small DPS. So many of them have their uses, and I need them to stay alive rather than to do damage, because my damage is based on different aspects of my field, and I really don't need them to perform any better. So, temples and relics. Temples, you have a few specific trees which you have to upgrade early on. I'm not going to go over most of these temples because they have just too much stuff to cover up, so it's not really that important. One of the few important ones is +3 temple, which increases research speed by 20%. This is probably the first temple that you have to do +3, because the faster you do this, the faster you get your researches upgraded. And that is not an insane boost early on, right? So you upgrading this will not give you an insane power boost for your PvP or PvE, but gradually over time you will get more researches done faster, and eventually that will turn into days and days and days of researches that you skipped in terms of army and heroes combined. That is why this is important. So there is another statue which a lot of players do miss, and they do not upgrade the castle level because majority of the veterans may tell them that it is a waste of your speed rush. So it is called the Skyfather Ilios, which unlocks at castle level 30. And when you activate the statue, it increases research speed by 30%, which helps both your army and your hero research. So if you upgrade this faster than your opponents, like you speed up your castle over your enemy, you're going to level your researches faster than your enemy. And every few days that they will not have this, and you will, that is pretty much counting 24 hours plus like 30%, and that is how much additional research bonus that you got per day over them. However, it's not going to be like raw 30%. It's probably going to be soft cap or hard cap, and it's going to be like 15 to 20% or whatever. So keep that in mind. The number you see here essentially is just a little bit lower due to soft and hard caps. But essentially, this is big enough to be noted that you really have to upgrade your castle early on. There is no exception, and you should not listen to specific things that veteran players say, because the endgame meta is not the same as early to mid. It's literally two different things or two different games in the shape of early to mid and then late game. Like, majority of the things don't work the same as it does late game to early and mid, because heroes, they just die in seconds. Those heroes which most of the late game people use, and then most people who use them I've even made countless of videos laughing at people leveling those Rufios because veteran players told them like this is insanely overpowered and they're just friggin' free morale boosts. But because they listened to the veteran players, that is why they got fooped up. So temple aside, this was just a few couple of tips for new players. Reliquary, I'm not entirely sure what level it popped up because I was already playing the game and was already over Castle 40 whenever this feature came out. So I do apologize that I do not know when this comes out. So I'm not entirely sure about tips and tricks for this specific thing, but what I have done myself is I went for the relic collection things first. So what I did here was upgrade 10 relics to level 10 first, then upgrade 20 to 10, 30, and then 40 to 10, and only then started to upgrade the relics to level 20 and upgrade the stars, as you can see here. I can upgrade this more to level like 30 because I've upgraded this to 3 stars. However, I do not do that because I am upgrading the relics to be able to break through them whenever I'm able to get the quintessence. And that is important because these relic steel buffs are insanely overpowered. And you get that, what's this called? Quintessence when you break through the relics, not for upgrading them, but for breaking through them. So whenever you have that many to break through, especially like purples or oranges, you get a lot of those quintessences, and essentially you will be able to upgrade the relic steel. But if you don't get enough fragments like you see here, then you start upgrading the green ones, and then you start breaking through the green ones until you manage to get purples and oranges. And then you upgrade this. So if we would explain the relic steel from the beginning, one of these have a very bad skill, but a lot of good passives. And majority of like these relic steel trees are the same in terms of like providing one bad skill but good passives in that line, and the other is a good skill but crap passives in that line. So if we can check this one, this says damage dealt to small units will increase by 15%, and here it says damage dealt to large units. So from the top of my head, small units count as like the humanoid race, Rakan race, Sylphs, or rather specific Sylvani army, which people do not use, so Sylph doesn't count here. So you have human, Rakan, Lich, the dwarf gunman or deadeyes also counts. So you use this to do damage to 4 races, right? However, this large one only affects a few specific races. So that is dwarf mechanists or mecha armor or whatever, which is the front line, and then you use them against Sylvani mushrooms, which is also half of the field. So use them on 2 specific armies and not the entire field. And I don't believe that anyone else uses anything large because the trends, they are massive. The dragon, it's massive. So pretty much the difference is that this skill here, Giant's Bane, literally is useless, while the Battlefield Hunter is insanely overpowered. So the skills here is basically troop magic resistance or dragon magic resistance, right? So majority of these skills just suck balls. Like in terms of, like they're useless to most of your field in general, while the bottom skills increases physical damage resistance, which most of heroes, armies, and whatever do. And physical resistances are insanely overpowered. But because of these skills sucking at the top, you have to put 3 of them to be able to unlock the main skill there, and you have to decide on which ones you need. So since majority of my field is physical DPS in terms of heroes, I have to have the might here. And then I have the dragon physical shield because the dragon, for me, is required to stay alive and required to tank damage, and he does tank the damage. So this one will help him to stay alive a bit longer. And the others, what can you do? The second one is the same. I've tested this Earth and Vitality, and this skill literally sucks. Even if he can heal like 50% almost for the entire field, this skill sucks. This one, when a unit's health is above 70%, damage taken is reduced by 25%. Now, this is insanely strong. The thing is, since I'm playing Rakan, I have a lot of healing sources, so I can keep those armies up above 70% easily for majority of the time. That is why this is overpowered. So again, checking this, increases troop critical hit rate. Critical hit rate has a lot of soft and eventually hard cap, and Rakan race cannot have an insane amount of crit rate anyway. So crit rate as well, hard cap, soft cap sucks. Dragon critical hit rate. Well, for Dragon, the attack speed is almost nothing. So if you upgrade the Dragon attack speed, it's not going to do you almost anything because Dragon usually casts skills, right? So attack speed, even I tested, is not going to insert another basic attack for you to do a skill. So getting crit rates will be a bit better than attack speed because it does one basic attack, then skill or two skills, then basic attack, then skill or two skills. And it's not going to insert another attack in there, so essentially the attack speed is pointless. And then you have like all crit damage resistance or evasion. So I wanted to get the stamina in here, so I decided to just use the evasion right here, and well, crit hit damage resistance would be better, but again, you have to make choices to get the best skill, and for me, like, these choices were like the better ones, I suppose. I cannot say that this is the best, but this is what I have chosen, and it's proven to be decent for me. So the next one I have not yet unlocked. So as you can see, I have 4 in one line, but this skill sucks because it's only 40 seconds after the battle begins. However, I required initiative in the first 30 seconds. When the battle starts, our units increase attack by 25 and damage taken reduced by 15. So whenever I'm able to unlock this skill, I will then move 2 more circles to the bottom row and then unlock this skill here. And that's the same reason as I said. The line where the skill sucks, which is like the top one, the passive bonuses here are overpowered. So like max HP and crit resistance compared to max HP and healing received, right? So the difference is pretty freaking huge. So keep that in mind, that until you reach the skill, that one particular passive tree is a lot better than the other one. So pretty much that's it for the relics and a few tips for the relics. Now for the dragon. There is a lot to touch on the dragon, and I cannot touch a specific topic which will involve the draconic talents, not yet, because I have not maxed the draconic myself. So more or less, you have the dragon abilities, and they play a huge part in the game. So whenever you're going to be starting out, you have 5 types of dragons. You have the blue dragon, which is like the ice dragon. You have the yellow dragon, which is like the thunder dragon. You have the black dragon, which is like the darkness or the void dragon. You have the fire, which is like, the fire, the red dragon. And you have the green dragon, which is like a healer-based-ish type dragon. Something like that, which also provides revivals and also some damage reduction. But what most of these dragons will require is a trinity of specific skills, and it's no different for most of the early game players. You will require to have these skills anyway on whichever dragon you choose. They are repulse or energy pulse, as you can see here. It is Arcane Blessing, which increases magic damage and healing efficacy, and then you have the Magic Swell, which reduces magic resistance, which increases the damage by repulse. Now, as I said in another video, the red dragon, the fire dragon, will also have something like flaming incendiary scales, which increase or rather do insane amounts of damage to anyone near the dragon. So, paired with the magic swell and the repulse, the fire dragon will be cleaning the front line in seconds. But essentially, up until Castle 40-ish, the red dragon is outscaled by a majority of the other dragons and the PvP and the fields and whatever. So red dragon doesn't scale well, but it is insanely overpowered in the early game. The dragon I have right now is a blue dragon, and I'm pretty much using this for a buffer, debuffer, slash tank, slash healer, something like that. So I have a noble blood on my dragon, which reduces physical damage taken by 15% and also heals almost 1% of health per second to all friendly units, which is kind of overpowered in my book because I have already a lot of healers, so this helps my units to be topped up pretty easily. There is one important advanced skill that most dragons should have, and it's called the Dragon Skill Heart. Now, if you're not lucky, it's gonna cost you 24,000 denarii. And what this does is, it reduces all damage taken by 22% and grants 20% chance of healing the damage taken. Now, this is the same thing as I've mentioned with the Prism in terms of like that 50%, or rather 15% to proc the Draconic Storm. This is not 20% as it's written here. Now, probably quite a few people will call me crazy, but this is not 20%. I'm not entirely sure what increases this percent, but I have seen literally dragons healing at a rate of 50% in majority of the fights. Now, sure, the percentage can be like 35 to 50 or 30 to 50 or 40 to 60% or whatever. I'm not entirely sure, but with 20%, the dragon literally healing more than like half of the damage done to him. In some cases, like 2 archer squad hitting your dragon and they were like tier 15, and my dragon was not even taking damage from them. Like, it's not going to happen like this. Like, this is literally not 20% because, damage the dragon, so the HP bar would be falling, but instead, the health of the dragon was always increasing because of the amount of healing the dragon was doing, paired with like the healing bonuses, which increased that healing. So they did the damage, that damage was healed and also increased by the draconic that the dragon has. So it was healing itself from the damage that it was receiving. So this is literally not 20%, and it's a must-have skill on all of the dragons. Like, if you don't have this skill, your dragon will die in an instant if it's tagged. If you have this skill, your dragon is going to tank enemy archers for like 10 to 15 seconds, even if your dragon is tagged. So keep that in mind. The first skill that you get as an advanced dragon skill is the Dragon Skill Heart, and there's no exceptions. Unless you literally draw PvP and you want to go PvE route, then you get the one which increases your archer damage. Then you have like the basic skills like the scales, which each color dragon has a different scale skill, so some of them act as buffers, debuffers, some of them damage, some of them healing, but the main thing is that they add dragon damage reduction, and it adds them by 25%, which is pretty friggin' important, and you require to have this as high as you can. But aside from all of these, the most important thing on your dragon is the hero predation. So it increases the damage dealt to enemy heroes by 1% by your friendly units on the battlefield, but the main important thing is that it debuffs the enemy heroes. Reduces their accuracy, attack speed, increases the damage your units do on them, and the level 100 reduces the damage of enemy heroes by 15%, which is also important. Because if you don't have this, like the enemy Nora, Valerie, and whatever will just obliterate your field in a matter of seconds. In terms of the Draconic, you should focus one tree at a time and up until you have 109 points in it. And not just 109 points in it, you should focus on climbing through each of the trees in the Draconic Talents and unlocking the last skill, which is like the main part of the Draconic. So you have 3 trees and you have 3 different OP Draconic abilities. So this one does true damage for 2 seconds. This one will roar and stun the entire enemy field, as well as healing, and it's limited to once per battle. And this one will make your army survive for additional couple of seconds before they die. So if they would reduce your army's health to 0 or a specific unit to 0, they will not die for additional 2 seconds and they will soak more damage for your army, which is very important. However, again, I have not finished this one to maximum, so I have no information on Draconic talents. So the other thing that I would like to cover up are pets. Again, I have no idea what level they appear, and they appeared whenever I was playing the game already. So recently they added new pets, and you can also spend Lenari to get them. Even though the skill is kind of overpowered, no players, and I do mean literally no small spenders or free to play, should focus on any of the new pets. This is a huge trap and you should not fall down that road. This Umbra Fox that you will be able to get, or Storm Fox, will be decent enough for the small spenders and free to play. And I have not spent any Lunari, or rather, I think I've spent like 3,000 whenever they appeared to just try it out. Didn't get anything, and I didn't spend any more. However, compared to many other players, I was kind of lucky and I made this purple pet 5-star. And as you can see, I'm almost level 57 on it as well, and quite a few players only have this 3-star, but they have Stormfox 5-star. So again, I was kind of lucky, but this pet is pretty darn good and it provides a lot of percentage stats for your field. So physical and magical damage, almost 50% bonus. Critical rate, critical damage, also nice bonuses. Attack speed, accuracy, and all that kind of stuff. So pets are kind of important role in the game. And the thing you want to do whenever you unlock this is to never miss your daily quests, which will give you the spirit coins. And whenever you unlock the dual tower, also to never miss to do the not daily, but like every 2 days, the daily quests for the spirit coins. So you would be able to pull the pet or pet resources and upgrade your pets. Now, the other thing about the pets that I like to note, it depends what star of pets you have, whether they are useful for you or not. So the skill here, it has 7.5 squares in diameter, and then this one have 5 squares in the diameter. The thing is, it's easier to level your Cloud Fox because you're going to get a lot more shards of the Cloud Fox, but you're not going to get a lot of shards of these two orange and pink pets. So if you get this 5-star and these are 3-star, it is more beneficial to use this 5-star pet until you get Storm or Umbra Fox to 4 stars. The reason for that is getting the upgrades of stars, which increase a lot of stats. So if you can see here, majority of these stats are called B and it has 205, right? So if you move up to the Storm Fox, you can see 2 A's and 2 B's, and the difference is 246. So that's, I believe, 41 points difference with just having an A. And this one has an A on all 4, and also because they have A, essentially they would increase in more points through levels later on. So if I would upgrade this here, it gives me about 7.2 more points per level up, while this one is just like 6 points. So that is the difference. So this pet, pretty overpowered. It's pretty good, and you don't need to worry about spending Lunari on these ones, because majority of your account will have to be raised and leveled through other features in terms of prisms, relics, all that kind of stuff, and spending Lunari on pets is really not advised. Now, for the races in the game, each race does a specific different thing and requires specific different heroes, and they can participate in specific different events. So, for example, human are the most versatile of the races. They can participate in majority of events. Sometimes they fall off a lot, sometimes they come out on top, but in the early game, their spearmen are pretty darn overpowered. The archers are weak up until Castle 35. So majority of the PvE content is mainly just the spearman and all that kind of stuff. But after Castle 35, the archers pick up and they become the best things that you can have, or are pretty easy to just do majority of events, PvP events, PvNs, and all that kind of stuff. So keep that in mind. Human are the most versatile, but it's not pretty good from Castle 1 to 34, up until, again, you unlock the army equipment. That is when they start to shine quite well. The dwarves are similar to humans, and they only start shining whenever they reach Castle 35 to start upgrading the army equipment. At 35, that is when their Deadeyes start to do insane amounts of damage in both PvP and the castle. Up until then, they don't seem like a huge threat, and instead they seem like they can easily be beaten by Rakan, by Lich, depending on the formations. So Liches are probably the strongest, or one of the strongest early game factions, due to the fact that not many people can actually siege them. As silly as it sounds, it is very hard to siege Lich early game, especially when you don't have proper heroes, proper armies, proper dragon, which majority of the stuff comes to you over castle level 30 or castle 35, which to reach that kind of point, majority of the people playing as Lich will not be attacked even with like 100 to 200,000 power difference. If you want to attack a Lich, you're gonna have a lot of casualties. So it just depends how much you want to spend and what you gain from attacking a Lich. Now, Rakan Rays, in majority of events, they are probably the most useless faction in the game. Or almost useless faction in the game. There is one event which they are good at, and the rest, they can just swap the race easily and participate in the event. So for example, if I'm playing Rakan or played it, I swap to Human Spearman for Void Mirror or some particular giant events, and then I swap to Lich for some particular damage-based events because the Lich mages were doing a lot of damage. And then after that I swap back to Rakan. So for me, it's the most versatile for PvE events, and I can literally, or rather could literally cover most of the PvE content just by playing Rakan and swapping races on different events. And Sylvani is probably one of the most useless factions early game. They are crap at PvP, they are crap at PvE, and they cannot even defend the castle properly. Like, I don't know any of events that they are good at. I don't see them being good at PvP, and they cannot even defend their castle. The only thing they're good at is providing one unit to your friends or your guild, which can make their scores in PvE or PvP kind of perform an insane amount. Though the race as a whole, it's probably one of the useless things I have seen in the early to mid game. Like, seriously, I'm not trying to be a troll or disrespect or anyone that plays this race, but If you ask them how many events they have won or participated properly on, they will tell you probably 0 or less than 1%. And that is like the difference with this faction, or rather race. Now, for the events, there are a lot of different types of events. Whether you get free materials like this one called Shadow Legion, you get XP, Draconic Dust, equipment, even runes, but it's not shown here. You got your general events, which appear again and again as the weeks go by. Sometimes they're different as well, which is a leaderboard based and events which gives you Lenari for your ranking in both the kingdom and the entire realm. And then you get boxes depending on your rank. If you rank top 3, you get a special chest with the item with a chance for flawless, and then you get some stuff for additional items. There are other events which also give you freebies like Victory Road. It gives you a lot more stuff than it's written here, as well as like the others. Treasure Hunt, freebie event. Pinnacle, freebie event with a leaderboard. Group Raid, it's a competitive 3-player event. Rare Research Rush is a leaderboard event, a general event which refreshes every week. Shrine Battle, it's a guild PvP event with a lot of freebies. So more or less, a lot of events, a lot of PvP events like championships, Clash of Fate. Mine of Mayhem is a cross-server PvP. Boss Raid is something like attacking a dragon or a mini-boss for freebie materials, as you can see here. Prison Break, freebie event for free. You beat squad, or rather armies of waves in an event as shown here, and you get a lot of free stuff. You have stuff for logins, you have like a battle pass type of thing, and then you have some Lenari spending events which also overlap sometimes, and you are able to get an insane amount of materials from them. And then the soon to appear events. So pretty much it depends on events, but there are 3 special events which you should look out for. Finders Keepers usually appears every 2.5 months. So I think the earliest from the release of this video, it will appear in like the next 1 to 2 weeks, and then 2.5 months after that. However, the Lucky Wheel, another event, appears at the end of the month or the first week of the next month, and then the Golden Game Board for the Prisms appear the second week into the month, usually around the 12th to 15th, one of those days. And the Prism event is you always have to spend 24,000 Lenari just to get the guaranteed Prism, as mentioned a couple of times before. You have to do that, so you have to be saving Lenari and not wasting on the Lucky Wheel and any other events that you may find interesting. Now, this game might not be for everyone. I think a lot of people are coming to this game for different things. So for example, if I open the map, as you can see, my kingdom is entirely destroyed. That's the reason, because we're in a war with another color, and majority of these cities were cleared just a couple of hours ago. However, it's midnight for me as I'm in Europe, and it's early in the morning in China, so majority of the Chinese players in my kingdom are still sleeping, and whenever they wake up, they will clear all this again. I would do it, but I will be going to bed after making this video, so I will leave them for my guys to finish up. Now, if I would attack quite a few of these players, like people in the Marvel, they would message me and tell me I'm brain damaged and I need to stop being aggressive and I need to play nice in a war game, which is addressed how can I say, advertised as a war game, conquest based game. Majority of the game is centered around PvP, and like 95% of international players play this game for a farm simulator or Farmville. Now, I've explained like multiple times, this game is not Farmville. If you seek to be Farmville, you stay in the capital right here and you don't move your castle out. However, if you move your castle out into the PvP zone, you will get attacked. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're a king of another color. It doesn't matter if you're part of a color which has a lot of cities. Like, somebody is going to hit you, and if you start trash talking the guy, that guy is going to hit you back a lot more times. Like, people getting hit, they end up quitting the game. So, like, if I can show you, I have been hit the past few days by like a lot of different players, and I have hit a lot of different players, but you don't see me crying for being hit, right? Hitting me doesn't do anything, and they cannot steal my resources away. So what I can do is, can go onto here, I can repair my wall health, go into a random city and just farm a lot of players and make back the resources that someone else stole from me. Like, it goes around in a circle, and essentially, like, you shouldn't be quitting just for somebody hitting you. But a lot of players do, and a lot of players assume this game as a Farmville peaceful type of game, and unfortunately this game is not published as a Farmville. It's advertised as a PvP conquest type city capture whatever type of game with a lot of PvP. Like, it's not PvE game, even if it has like 90% PvE content, right? Majority of PvP and buffs and all that kind of stuff is in PvP zone. So if you enter a PvP zone, you're going to get hit. Like, in majority of the games, you step out of the safe zone, which is your capital, onto the PvP zone, which is like 90% of this game. They are going to attack you. And a lot of players, again, don't like this, but this is the type of game that it is. The most important aspects of this game is to understand what type of game it is and how you should play it. So if you get hit anytime on your game, you shouldn't take it as like you being weak, useless, whatever. Essentially, if you don't spend money in majority of the games, your progression will be slower than those who do spend money. However, if your decisions are good, if you spend your Lunari properly, if you're asking for help from other players or learning the game by yourself, essentially you will be able to climb the tree of being able to beat VIPs, and essentially you will be able to beat stronger VIPs as the months go by. You're not going to be handicapped on just not spending money and being useless. You're going to be handicapped if you do not learn the game and learn to play properly. And I do believe I've shown in the beginning of my video that I have beat a few Castle 50 players. Like, you can see this guy, Castle 50, he's like 1 million core power higher, but I have beaten him pretty easy, even with him having tier 18 army. And that is what I mean. You have to learn to play the game, to make proper formations, to make proper researches, to make proper adjustments to formations, features, whatever. Otherwise, you will be just like this guy with fake core power. Anyways, I do believe that is pretty much it for this video. Let me know in the comments down below whether or not this helped you out with these small little tips for every feature. Now, I will be splitting more or less this video into bigger parts and covering most of these parts in separate videos, but explaining them thoroughly, and probably each of them will be taking at least 10 to 15, maybe 20 minutes with all the tips that I will be able to provide and any events that will be how can I say, connected to them or stuff like that. So I will be providing a lot of information in them. This one was just helpful tips, advices, or explanations for most of the people who are just starting the game or go on to a new realm. Anyways, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, guys, and stay safe out there.